والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد ومن اهتدى بهداه إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. So this is our commentary on السياسة الشرعية في إصلاح الراعي والرعية that was written by Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah as a message to the Sultan, the king of that era. So his Shaykh and to how to rule people. And the Shaykh is trying to give all types of opinions in everything that the Sultan, the king, has to do in ruling people. So the last thing we reached, now actually all these last chapters are the punishments of in the Islamic system. So the last thing was when a group of people rebel against the government or against the system without any opinion. They just rebel to kill and to steal and to rob people. So there's a difference between rebelling politically. That means you have a kind of opinion against the system and you are condemning something that you don't like, or you're criticizing something you don't like, or the system is so ruined and you kept on, or people kept on protesting against the system, but nobody listened to them. So that's another type of, you deal with those guys in another way. This is called al-bughats. And sometimes al-bughats are actually are on the right path and the system is on the wrong path. And actually all these types of things that the Shaykh is speaking about are general rules and general things, and nowadays we have to make them we have to organize or Muslims have to organize a proper system that prevents governors from transgressing, passing limits, and becoming dictators. And on the other side, we have to make proper systems to change, not to change actually, to make it easy when the governor is he finished his time or he died or whatever happens. So we don't have the same problems that we had in the ancient eras when they tried to solve that problem by making a successor, which is usually his son or his brother or something like that. Or in some systems, old systems, they used to make the successor as his right hand, especially in the Egyptian regime that was actually an army regime. The so-called Mamalik. The Mamalik were soldiers of the Ayyubis, and they used to rule. They took place when the last Ayyubi Sultan was made as a child, and he couldn't take care of a child can't take care of the system because he's a child. So who took place? His army, who were actually bought them as slaves from Chechnya and from other places. So these slaves, some of them were Turkish, some of them were Sharkas, they call them Sharkas. Some of them are from other, and they were bought to be as army, and they used to teach them Islamic primary Islamic studies with a Sunni belief, a Sunni creed, and some Shafi'i or other fiqh, and then they trained them very well to be good soldiers. So these were the army that took place when the Crusades attacked Egypt, and the last Ayyubi king couldn't defend anything because he was a child. So his soldiers took place, and they decided to be the main kings. So they were actually, and they ruled Egypt a long time until the Ottomans came and took Egypt, and they remained there. They remained there as rulers until Muhammad Ali Pasha, who was actually a governor that was Albanian. He was sent from the Ottoman Empire to rule Egypt, so he killed a lot of them, and the others escaped. And Muhammad Ali Pasha was actually a soldier too. I mean, he's from the army too. So anyway, nowadays have to have a good system like the Westerns did. The Westerns solved the problem of their kingdoms and their republics, and they don't have any problem nowadays in transferring the authority from a leader to another leader. And they did this the elections, and they created a lot of to take care of people and to solve their problems. So that's actually, Muslims, actually, it's not wrong to learn from the others, because it is said that wisdom is the lost thing. الحكمة ضالة المؤمن. Thing that the believer seeks, and he can take it even from non-believers. I mean, it's not wrong, because, for example, knowledge is something that is shared by all kinds of nations. One day, the Greeks used to be the leaders of knowledge in the world, and then Muslims took the knowledge of the Greeks and improved it, especially in kinds of politics and calculus and all kinds of these things, and in physician, and we had great physicians that improved all kinds of things like that, and we had pharmacists that took care of medicine and stuff like that. And then the Westerns took all the books of our scholars and improved it again. So then we have to take it again and improve it. It's not something that is Western or Eastern. It's something that is for all people. So we have to improve ourselves, even by benefiting from others. Of course, that doesn't mean that we forget gave specific rules, and it gave general rules. So the system has general rules, and the law is specified. So the general rules, we can make a system or that is working, and then put our general rules in it, so it will be it will be Islamic. And the same thing in our rules. For example, the judge system that is in the West, for example. There is no problem if we implement the same way, but using Islamic rules. So you have lawyers, you have a kind of system where the judges can judge, and then they have another trial and stuff like that. There's a lot of things that improve, so that because Islam is seeking for fairness. We have to seek for fairness to be just for everybody. So anyway, now we stopped here. من عنده مال الظالم ماطل قد امتنع عن تسليم لحاكم عادل يوفيه وهذا الضرب من التعزير عقوبة، فأما إن امتنع من الإخبار والإحضار لئلا يتعدى عليه فهذا محسن. He has some property or some money that he has to give it to somebody else, but he doesn't want to agree about that. So he doesn't agree that he, and are you allowed to squeeze him and force him to get out the money? Yes, of course you are allowed to do that. When somebody goes to a tribe, a leader of a tribe, and asks him to protect him, although he is a wrongdoer, that means he commit a crime or something like that. So the leader finds that if he doesn't protect him, that's shame for him. So he protects him even if he knows that he commit a crime. He says that's not proper, that's wrong. You have to differentiate between somebody who asks you to protect him and he didn't commit anything, so you are now doing something good, and between somebody that commit a crime. You're not allowed to protect somebody who commit a crime. This is one of the main things that caused lots of problems in the ancient days. It ruins the whole religion and the life. So no religion is implemented, and the life can't stand like that, because when wrongdoers have to be punished and they find others who protect them, that's a big problem. That causes a lot of problems. And then when the rule is not implemented on everybody, it loses its, it's not respected anymore. It loses its respects. The main thing that made the Mongolians attack Muslims and destroy their lands and kill their kings Mongolia, it's so far. So they came from those lands and they took all Muslim kingdoms in Turkestan and Khorasan, which is nowadays Afghanistan, and part of Iran, and all those lands were called Khorasan. It's a huge land. So they took all those places, and then until they reached to Baghdad, which was called Darus Salam. Killed a lot lot of Muslims there, and they destroyed libraries. It was a horrible day. That was in the year 656 Hijri. Shaykh says anybody who humiliates himself in the sake of Allah, he's actually raising up himself, not humiliating it. And anybody who makes his best to show the truth by himself, he's making himself as a noble guy, because the best person in the eye of Allah is the most pious person. And anybody who goes to wrongdoers and tries to become strong by the wrongdoers, becomes he's humiliating himself, and he's doing something bad to himself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Man kana yuridu al-izzata falillahi al-izzatu jami'a." Risen up, so all that is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يقولون لئن رجعنا إلى the hypocrites say, يقولون لئن رجعنا إلى المدينة ليخرجن الأعز منها الأذل وَلِلَّهِ الْعِزَّةُ وَلِرَسُولِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَلَكِنَّ الْمُنَافِقِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. They say, the hypocrites, back to Medina, and that was Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Salul, who back to Medina, we will kick out, no, the high people will kick out the low people, and for Allah is the highness, and for His messenger, and for the believers, but the hypocrites don't know. الدنيا ويشهد الله على ما في قلبه وألد الخصام وإذا تولى سعى في الأرض ليفسد فيها ويهلك الحرث والنسل والله لا يحب الفساد وإذا قيل له اتق الله أخذته العزة بالإثم فحسبه جهنم ولبئس المهاد. The people, there's a type of people who you like him when he speaks in this life, and he witnesses and testifies that Allah knows what is in his heart, and he's the nasty guy, the most nasty guy. And when he goes, he starts doing all bad things to corrupt and to destroy everything, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't like destruction. And when you tell him fear Allah, he becomes risen up in a bad way. I mean, he's a wrongdoer, and he thinks that he's doing, and he's arrogant. This guy deserves to go to hellfire, and that's the worst place where he deserves to go. So anybody, it says here, anybody who goes to a leader and asks him to protect him, if he was maltreated, if he was he's treated bad, in a bad way, and he's innocent. Everybody claims that he's innocent, but he has to show that by proofs. But if he's not, but if it proves that he's a wrongdoer, says he has to get him back in a good way. Tell him, look, you are a wrongdoer. You have to go back to stand near the courts. That's it. Or at least solve the problem in a peaceful way. To do that by force. No way to avoid the courts or the law to be implemented. The law has to be implemented. And when we're talking here about the law, we're talking about the Islamic law. And that's more strongly than any other law, because this is Sharia, this is a divine law. And the divine law has to be implemented. This is religion. Nobody can doers, and on the same time every one of them treated the other in a wrong way, like what happens between tribes and groups and stuff like that. And the most people who go to the courts, or all of them, are wrongdoers, doing bad things and killing each other in the wrong way because he's an Arab, he's a Turk, he's a Kurdish, he's I don't know what. They're just fighting because of races and stuff like that, or because this is from this group, the other is from another group, they just kill each other for nothing. So in this case, we have to fix the solution. We have to solve the problem between them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, okay, let me just get the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Hujurat, see, Surah Al-Hujurat, verse among the believers should fight, then make settlements between the two. But if one of them appraises the other, then fight against the one that appraises until it returns to the ordinance of Allah. And if it returns, then make settlements between them in justice and act justly. Indeed, Allah loves those who act justly. The believers are but brothers, so make settlement between your brothers and fear Allah that you may receive mercy. إنما المؤمنون إخوة فأصلحوا بين أخويكم. And Allah said in Surah An-Nisa, verse 14, لا خير في كثير من نجواهم إلى آخر الآية. There in much of their private conversations, except for those who enjoin charity of that which is right or consolation between people. And whoever does the seeking means so to the approval of Allah, then we are going to give him a great reward. So these are very important verses that show us, and but look here, there's a hadith here, مثل الذي ينصر. Okay, وقد روى أبو داود في السنن عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنه قيل له أمن العصبية أن ينصر الرجل قومه في الحق، قال الرجل قومه في الحق، قال لا، قال صلى الله عليه وسلم ولكن من العصبية أن ينصر الرجل قومه في الباطل. Is it from racism to the man that is from your tribe, your people, your nation? In the truth, he said no, but it is racism if you help him and support him in when he's wrong, because you're just supporting him because of he's from your nation, nothing else, or because he's from your party, or because he's from the same race. So now you're doing something wrong. This hadith is weak, but there are others that are authentic, like مثل الذي ينصر قومه بالباطل كبعير تردى في بئر فهو يجر بذنبه. One that helps or supports his people when they're doing wrong, it's like a camel that falls in a well and it is pulled with its tail. من سمعتموه, look here, he says, من سمعتموه يتعزى بعزاء الجاهلية فأعضوه هنأ به ولا تكنوا. Anyone that you, this hadith is very strong. You hear him speaking about his nation proudly and calling people to support him just because of, or support his nation just because it's his nation. So ask him to go and bite the private part of his father and use the worst word that you can use. Don't use any figurative meanings. That's very strong, because that means that he's doing the worst thing that he can do. Islam condemns supporting people only because of they are from your family or your race or your people or whatever. And he strongly asks us to be brothers in the truth and support the truth, not support things because of the meanings of race or nation or whatever. You see? The Shaykh says anything that goes out of the call of Islam and the Quran, family name, country, race, sect, way of thinking, ideology, it's all considered as ignorism. Aza'ul Jahiliyyah. Two people started disputing between each other. Ya al-Muhajirin, he called the Muhajirin. The other called Ya al-Ansar. Everyone called his group. The Prophet ﷺ said, are you using the way of the ignorant people and I'm still between you? And he went so angry about that. So this is a kind of thing, that a type of way that Muslims have to avoid totally. Never use this way in example, you guys in Australia, for example, and there are some groups of people originally from the subcontinent of India, for example. Others are from the Syrian whole the land of Levant, for example. Others are originally convertees, and they're originally Europeans. So when there is a problem between the guys, everybody calls his group. That's Jahiliyyah. Now that means you're going back to the ignorance days when everybody only calls his tribe. And that's the way that they fight. They call their tribes, and then the tribes start fighting. And sometimes there were battles that took lots of years, 40 years. Imagine 40 years fighting because of what? Because of two camels. Two people had two camels and they didn't agree with each other, so everybody called his tribe, and then a huge battle took place. 40 years. In the First World War and the Second World War, 50 million people, 60 million people were dead for what? For nothing. No meaning there. So never lose your life for nothing and for no meaning. You have only one life, so it's something that is very expensive. Never use that life and lose it for nothing. Now the fourth chapter here is the chapter that speaks about what is the punishment of stealing and robbing. Now, we spoke about rebelling for stealing and robbing. Now, there are two kinds. Now, we have people who rebelled to steal and rob. So they go cut the roots by using weapons and telling you, give me what is in your pocket. And there are others, they don't use any weapons, but they steal and rob. They can go, for example, to your house and break the place that you put your money in, or take it from where it is, and then they steal you. Or they have several kinds of ways to steal and rob. So these are the ones that we're talking about right now. By the book and the sunnah and the ijma' of all scholars. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran in Surah Al-Ma'idah verse 38. Surah Al-Ma'idah verse 38. And as for the thief, the male and the female amputate their hands in recompense for what they earned, which means committed, as a deterrent punishment from Allah, and Allah is exalted in might and wise. But whoever repents after this wrongdoing and reform, indeed Allah will turn to him in forgiveness. Indeed, Allah is forgiving and merciful. So this verse is so clear about this. It says you're not allowed, it's not permissible after the proof of this crime by the guy agreeing about himself or by a proof, it's not permissible to make the punishment late. Imprisoning him, or by giving a ransom of money to get rid of the punishments, or anything else, by lashing him, slapping him, hitting him. No. One punishment has to be implemented. That's it. And has to be cut in the sacred time and in any other time. No matter the time is sacred, Ramadan or the 3 or 4th sacred months or whatever. We don't care about that. Because implementing these kinds or types of punishments are a type of, now I'm translating what the Shaykh is saying, are types of worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's like struggling in the sake of Allah. And we have to know that that's a type of mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for us. When Allah asks us to punish the wrongdoers, it's a mercy of Allah to the global people. The governor has to be very strict in implementing these punishments. He doesn't have to have any mercy in his heart towards the one that made this commit this crime, so that he would stop or soften the punishment. No, the punishment has to be implemented as it is. And his intention is to be mercy to the whole people. Because when you stop a wrongdoer, that means you're putting the mercy on everybody else, because you are preventing others to do the same crimes. It's not that he's putting his anger on them, or he's revenging against them. No. Or being arrogant on people. No, he's not doing that. He's doing it to be merciful for others. It's like the father with his children. When he punishes them, that's a kind of mercy. However, the child will get spoiled. But when you train your child, your son, you are improving him. Now, a lot of laws nowadays say that you're not allowed to train your children. What happened now? Now we have a group of new generation that are unpolite, untrained. They don't know how to speak with elders. They don't respect anybody. This is a big problem. This is the way that we got, and the other way that we had and derived from our grandfathers and our ancestors was another way that gave us polite and trained people. Normally doesn't like to do that. You don't like to punish your children, but it's like a physician, a doctor, when he gives a kind of a bitter medicine to somebody, which is, it's not tasty. So, but he needs to give it to him because it cures him from his, or it heals him from his disease. It's like when you have to cut a part of somebody which is rotten. For example, sometimes you have a bad disease. May Allah, we ask Allah refuge from that. Somebody has a disease in his hand or his leg or whatever, wherever, and he's asked to cut it. And if he doesn't cut it, he'll get dead. He'll die. So he doesn't like it to be cut, but he has to cut it. So it's the same thing, because if he doesn't cut it, he'll die. These types of things are like when you do things that are bad to have something that is good. It's like wars. Countries sometimes enter wars for the benefit of the majority. So there are people going to get killed. There are others going to get destroyed. Houses are going to get destroyed, etc. But that's better than what would happen if they didn't enter those battles. And there's no nation, proper nation, that enters battles that it doesn't benefit anything from those battles. Although wars are always bad in killing, destroying, and doing all these things. You see? So that's how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it official to ordered us to implement these laws or these punishments. And this is how the intention of the lawyer or the governor has to be. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Now, when the governors and fix the majority, and to prevent them from practicing all bad things, and giving them and demanding for all good things for them, and he's doing that in the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah Almighty will soften the hearts for him, and all kinds of good things will be easy for him. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sometimes he'll make even the guy that was punished pleased about that. He'll think, Allah will say, at least that purifies me from all my sins that I did. But if he does that because he wants to be arrogant and he wants to humiliate people and give them and make them give him money and stuff like that, things will go against what he's supposing. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, rahimahullah, the Caliph, and he was place of Al-Walid ibn Abdul Malik. He was a successor, not a successor, I say Na'ib. He was Na'ib, that means he's in the place of the Caliph, but in his because he was the governor of Medina, where the caliph was in Damascus. And he went very good in maybe. There's a president, and there are other governors in other places that take place of the presidents. How do you call them? Minister? No, not minister. No. Deputy, maybe deputy, because ministers are like they assist the caliph, and they take place of some parts of the system. Anyway, Umar ibn Abdul Aziz was very good in ruling people in Medina, and people used to love him. So Al-Hajjaj came from Iraq. Al-Hajjaj ibn Yusuf Thaqafi was a very mad guy. Al-Hajjaj ibn Yusuf, everybody knows him. Al-Thaqafi. Came to Medina, very bad way. Umar. No, sorry. Yeah, he came from Iraq, and he used to rule them in a very bad way. He was very tough. He used to kill people just because they didn't obey his orders. He had very horrible punishments that don't have anything to do with the Islamic punishments. So he asked Umar radiallahu anhu, and he said to him, "Deputy here, you mean he has the power of the caliph here, who assigned him?" Yes, exactly, that's the word, yeah, deputy. So he said to Umar, "How do the people respect you? How is your respect?" They said, "We can't even look at him. We respect him a lot. We can't even raise up our eyes to see him." He said, "How do you love him?" They say, "We love him more than our family." "How does he train you guys?" He said, "If somebody commit something, he did something wrong, he just lashes them 3 or until 10 lashes. That's it. Doesn't go more than that." He said, "This is his respect. This is his love. This is his training. This is something from the heavens." Means it's not something normal, because Al-Hajjaj was very tough and harsh. People rebelled against him, and he killed Sa'id ibn Jubayr, and he killed scholars, because not only normal people rebelled against him, the great scholars of Kufa rebelled against him, and some of them even said he's not a Muslim anymore. He's a kafir, they said. And that was, this... the laws of the caliph. Implementing the laws in this way wasn't a proper way, because the proper way is always following the Sharia as it is. Anyway, now he says here, when the hand is cut, the blood has to stop. And it is, he says it's permissible, it's preferable to hang it over his his neck. That's what he says here. Now, if he steals a second time, the third time, there are 2 opinions of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. The first time is that You cut the fourth hand, the fourth leg, it's a big problem. This is the opinion of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu and the opinion of Shafi'i and Ahmad rahimahullah. Left hand, right leg. And then in the end, you just put him in jail. That's it. The second opinion is that when you cut his right hand and then you cut his left leg and then he steals again, you just put him in jail. That's it, because this guy is a mad guy. So you put him in jail. This is the opinion of Imam Abu Hanifa. Because Abu Hanifa's opinion is derived from two Sahaba, from Abu Mas'ud and from Ali. These were the main Sahaba that were in Kufa. And it's the second opinion of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah. Prison until what? Until he dies, that's it. Because he's a nasty guy that steals people and robs them. And we cut his hand and it didn't work. We cut his leg and it's still stealing. It's a disaster. When does he deserve to be cut? It's when he steals something that is more than 1/4 dinar, 1/4 ربع dinar, is okay, wait a second here. Grams of pure gold for that means what costs that? It's nearly nowadays about $4, right, or €4. You see? And maybe more than that. Let us say $5. Let us say $5. No, sorry, not no. Let us say $10 for $10. No, $10. No, that's a. And ask them. They will tell you how much is that. So if it's less than that, of the majority of scholars, it is he has to be cut in 1 dinar, which is equal to 10 dirhams, golden dirham, silver dirhams, and and the others, and that means 1 dinar. 1 dinar, if ربع dinar. One dinar is 4.25. That's ربع dinar. That's 1 dinar. Now, 1/4 of it you divide it by 4. Okay. But the most accepted opinion is the first opinion, and it's the opinion of the majority of scholars. Said that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ cuts the hand. Grams of gold is roughly 100. That's one dinar. It's 169 according to Google. Okay, that's very good. Now, if you divide it to 4, you'll get the fourth of it. Divide it to 4, you'll get 1/4 of it, which is ربع dinar. Let us say 100, okay, $42. Anything that costs $42 and more, anybody steals something like that deserves to be cut. Less than that, he just deserves to be punished. Any other punishments? Now, according to this is according to the majority of scholars, Malik, Ahmad, Shafi'i. Abu Hanifa, government, or the judges can use one of these opinions, but the Prophet ﷺ, according to Ibn Umar, cuts in ربع dinar. Where Aisha radiallahu anha says, the Prophet ﷺ said the hand is cut in ربع, in 1/4 dinar and more than that. And Muslim says the hand is not cut except in 1/4 dinar and more than that. So all these are narrations in the 2 authentic books that prove that. And in those days, 1/4 dinar used to be equal to 3 dirhams. Dirhams means silver. And the dinar used to be equal to 12 dirhams. And before that, it was less. It was 10 to 1. 10 to 1. That's why in zakah we say that 20 dinars or 200 dirhams, because it was equal to it, so it stayed like that. Or the robber a real robber? Is anybody a robber? Anybody who takes money is a robber? No. Who takes the money from a place that is made to hide the money. Anybody takes the money from a place that people hide their money in it. Where and then you took it in you put it in your pocket. That's a crime. But the hand does not deserve to be cut in something like that. Now, a tree that is in the you pass and you just took from the tree, which doesn't have any wall to protect it, or a ram or a goat or a cow or a camel, and then you stop and you drink from its milk. So there is no cut in these things, but he deserves to be punished in those things. Doubled, as it is in a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Okay? About how to make that, how to give back the money doubled. Some scholars say that, like Imam Ahmad. He said that Rafi' ibn Khadij said, I heard the Messenger of Allah say that there is no cutting in a tree or fruits. So there's no cutting in those things. This is narrated by the 4 books of the Sunan. Amr ibn Shu'ayb, by his grandfather, I heard somebody from Muzayna asking the Prophet ﷺ, he said, O Messenger of Allah, I came to ask you about the lost camel. He said it has its water with it, and it has its legs. It can go wherever it wants, it can eat whatever it wants. So leave it until its owner takes it. He said, what about the rams, the lost rams? He says, it's either for you or for your brother or for the أخيك أو للذئب. The wolf. He says, took that you take from its place that it remains in it. You know, in the night, the farmers take all the rams to a specific place and they close the door. So he says, you have to pay it twice, and you have to be, and he is beaten. The one who steals it is beaten. And if he takes it from its place where it's closed, his hand will be cut. If he took something that is more than the amount that we talked about. Fruits that are inside its, you know, there are some trees, some fruits that are inside something that covers them. He said if somebody just takes by his mouth and he didn't take a lots of, for example, just an apple, he just pulled it and ate it, or a fruit, just took one, and he didn't take a lot and put them in something, and he just took it with him. So there's nothing about that. But who takes with him a bunch of things, he has to pay it twice, and he has to be beat. And if he takes it from its specific place where it's closed there, he has to be cut. If that was same amounts that we spoke about. But if it's less than the amount that we spoke about, he just needs to repay it twice and be lashed. This hadith is an authentic hadith narrated by Abu Dawood and Nasa'i and Tirmidhi and Ibn Majah. And it's an authentic hadith. The Prophet ﷺ steals from it and puts it in his pocket. For example, somebody's responsible for the treasury and he just keeps on stealing from it. He deserves to be punished, but no cut. Why? Because it's actually he's a betrayer. It's not just anybody steals; he deserves to be cut. And cuts the pockets of people, or for example, you have something in your head, like the ladies that have these sacks on their hands, and then somebody just cuts from it and makes a hole and just steals what's inside it, and stuff like that. He deserves to be cut too. This is what he says. Sheikh says the most authentic opinion is that they deserve to be cut. He didn't mention it. It's that they have to be not, what am I going to say? How am I going to say it? The other condition is that they didn't steal because they are starving. They need to eat. They didn't find anything to eat. So in this case, they are excused because they are so hungry. So you can't cut hand of somebody when he's hungry because he needs to eat, and you didn't give him what to eat. So, in the year of starving, he stopped cutting hands because he said that was an excuse. Many people use this as an excuse to implement the Islamic law, where that's very wrong, because we have a law that says idra'ul hudud bil-shubuhat. When you have to implement a law and then you have suspects about something, you just stop the law, you just stop the punishment because of the suspects. So you are supposed to stop the law in this case. إِدْرَأُ الْحُدُودَ بِالشُّبُهَاتِ. So these are people who are starving. So if they steal, there's an excuse there, because everybody's starving, you see? So that's why he stopped implementing the law of cutting hands in that era, in that year, which was the year 18 Hijri. عام الرمادة. Now we reach to the 5th chapter, حد الزنا. Fornication here, we have two types. We have fornication and we have adultery. In English, they differentiate between adultery and fornication. They consider fornication as practicing sex and you're not married. But committing adultery is practicing sex with somebody else when you are, it's betraying your wife, because you are married and then you go with another woman, or she is married and she goes with another man. Is that what you know about this? Is that right? This is the difference between committing adultery and practicing or fornicating. I want to tell you something that I noticed in the commentary of Abdullah Yusuf Ali in his commentary on the Quran. Abdullah Yusuf Ali he didn't differentiate between these two things. Abdullah Yusuf Ali did not differentiate between committing adultery and fornicating, and he went translating the verses in Surah An-Nur as committing the same, committing adultery and fornicating. Why? Because the Quran doesn't differentiate between them. The Sunnah differentiated between them. The Sunnah differentiated between the two punishments. And it's very clear until Umar radiallahu anhu said that nobody is allowed to say that the Prophet ﷺ didn't stone the ones that committed adultery. We stoned with the Prophet ﷺ and the Caliph stoned. And I was going to add it to the Quran, but I didn't want anybody, as a commentary, not as a verse. But I didn't want anybody to say that I added a verse in the Quran. So he didn't add it to the Quran. Okay, let us see, what did the Shaykh say here? The Shaykh said here, was muhsan. What is muhsan? Because it has several meanings. But let me see what you think about that word, muhsan. Muhsan, that got married officially. He's not married. He got married one day and he intercoursed officially his wife. And she was intercoursed officially by her husband. What are you speaking about? Look, if somebody intercoursed his wife, and if a wife was intercoursed by her husband, they intercourse each other morning of Ramadan and they had to be fasting, is that considered as an official intercourse? No, it's not considered as an official intercourse. You see? And you have to understand it like that. Now, if he did that one day, and then he divorced his wife, is he still called muhsan? Yes, and she is muhsana too. Anybody who got married one day, a legitimate marriage, and she got married a legitimate marriage, and then one day they got divorced from each other, separated from each other, and then he went fornicating. To the Sharia, it's considered as committing adultery because he is muhsan. He's married. It means that he was married one time. That he had to be married in that time. Is that clear? Yes, even if he doesn't have a wife in that time. If study whole fiqh, you will pass on that. Anyway, this is part of fiqh. Actually, what we're studying right now is part of fiqh. Virgin. Because the official, let me just be specific with you guys. Let me just be specific with you because this is fiqh. And fiqh has to be specific. But sex, what do we mean by sex? His penis has to pass the vagina. If it doesn't go into the vagina and he just plays without entering it, or he just puts it over but he doesn't enter, that doesn't fulfill the case. Did you get that? Did you get the idea? Vagina in Arabic, al-hashafa. Al-khitan. He uses a figurative word. تجاوز الختان والختان. He says he has to be, if he was muhsan, he has to be stoned to death, like when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, human, of course human. I'm talking about human beings. It won't bleed. Hymen? Oh, hymen. It's called hymen? Oh, no. No, the entrance of the vagina, you mean. The hymen is the entrance of the vagina. Right? Al-Bikara. The man's called Al-Hashaf. I don't know what is it called in English. The man's, so the woman's is the Bikara. The man is called Al-Hashaf. My God. Pronounce hymen. Hymen. Okay, hymen. Hymen. Like the Prophet ﷺ stoned Ma'iz al-Aslami, and he stoned al-Ghamidiyya, and he stoned the two Jews, and he stoned others, and the Muslims after him stoned people. There are conflicts between scholars. Do we have to lash them and then stone them? Lash them 100 and then stone them? There are two opinions. Some scholars say that, some others say no. Why are we going to lash them and then stone them again? Muhsan by the book of Allah, and we put him in prison one year by the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And some scholars say no, it's not permissible to. It's not obligatory to prison 1 year or ban him 1 year. And when is it proved? It's not proved. Committing adultery or fornicating is not except if 4 people, trustworthy people, see the acts he agrees about himself 4 times, according to a lot of scholars, or the majority of them. Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me? Witnesses, the majority of them say no, he's not allowed to witness about himself or agree about himself only 1 time. It has to be 4 times, and he has to insist on that. But if he just comes and says, well, I fornicated or I committed adultery, tell him, no, go away. And if he agrees about himself and he goes away, many scholars say that's it, don't follow him. And some say no, if he agrees, that's a proof, and we have to implement the law on him. says here, he says anybody is anybody intercourses and he is not a slave, he's free, and he is sane, a sane person, not mad or crazy nor a child. Wife that he married her, an official marriage, a right marriage that doesn't have any problems in it, and he intercourses her in her vagina, not in her bottom, even if it was only one time, and she has to have the same conditions. And others say no, she doesn't have the same skull. Anyway, in the Maliki school that I follow, she has to have the same conditions. Somebody school say the same thing. Nearly to become adults. For example, he's 13 years old, still not an adult, and she's about 13, she's still not adult. There are two opinions about that. We don't have to go into those details. We can study that. You can study that in fiqh. Jews, Christians, and stuff like that who live between us. Scholars like Shafi'i and Ahmed and others say the same thing. They have to have the same conditions because the Prophet ﷺ stoned the two Jews. And that was the first stoning in Islam. Now, for example, if we found a woman that is pregnant and she never had a husband, she has to be punished because that means she fornicated. Some say no. Maybe somebody raped her. Say that this is an excuse, although it can be a far excuse, but actually it's an excuse to implement the punishments. And we say that we have no, this is so far. She is supposed to be, or no, he didn't say that. No, he says it is said. Now he's giving us another opinion that she has to be punished, because that is what we have narrated by the four caliphs, and that is what is similar to the whole global Islamic law of the Sharia, and that's the opinion of the people of Medina, Malik and his friends and his professors. And we're not allowed to use very rarely excuses and make it as a general law. We can't say that, because if you go doing these kinds of exceptions or expecting things, you will never finish, because the mind can expect a lot of things and imagine a lot of things. Now, for sex, not females, males. Some scholars say the punishment is the same as the punishment of fornicating. That means if he's muhsan or not muhsan, punishments. That the majority of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum agreed about, not the majority, all the Sahaba agreed about, is that both of them are supposed to be killed, no matter they are muhsan or not muhsan, no matter they were married one day or they're not married, because they commit a harmful and not a harmful, they commit a very dangerous crime. The people of Sunan, the scholars of Sunan Ibn Majah, Tirmidhi, and Nasa Ibn Majah, and Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, that the Prophet ﷺ said, if you found somebody doing the acts of the people of Lot, peace be upon him, so kill the actor and the one that is acted on him. This is an authentic hadith. Abu Dawud was never married, and he is practicing the acts of the sodomized acts. He said he deserves to be stoned, and it's narrated by Ali radiallahu anhu, the same, from his words. There is no conflict between the Sahaba, the companions of the Prophet ﷺ about that. But they have several ways of punishments, or they suggest several ways of punishing these guys who commit this crime. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu says that he deserves to be burned to death. Others say he deserves to be killed. Others say we destroy a wall on him until he dies under that wall. Others says we prison them in a rotten place until they die. Others say we push them from a high place until they die, and we stone them after that. Others say, like what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did with the people of Sodom and Gomorrah. And this is narrated by Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu. The other narration is that they get stoned to death. And this is the opinion of the majority of scholars. They say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stoned them to death, stoned the people of Sodom and Gomorrah to death, so they deserve to be stoned to death. No matter they are free or they are not free, slaves or whatever. Anybody who commits homosexuality, males with male, deserves to be killed to death. So he gets punished without killing him because he's a child. Because nobody gets stoned, and only the sane person, only sane person deserves to be punished. I think this is enough for today. Jazakumullahu khairan, walhamdulillah, wa sallallahu ala rasulullah. 2 lessons. It'll be 11, not 10, because we still have some pages. No problem, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, wa sallallahu ala rasulullah, jazakumullahu khairan.